Well, it's Oscar season, and as usual, there's a lot of Oscar-nominated films out just now that we should look out for. So we're going to start with our reviews this week, this particular edition of Cinetopia, with a few films. One of them, The Favourite, and also Scotland's big premiere this week, which was Mary Queen of Scots. But let's start with The Favourite. So, Jim, have you got any thoughts on that film? You tell us a bit about it and what you think of it.
So it's a period drama. I mean, it's not a particularly conventional one, as we'll come on to describe in a minute, but it's set during the Restoration period in Britain, in Queen Anne's court. Olivia Colman plays Queen Anne, and then beyond that, the main focus is Rachel Weisz, who plays Lady Marlborough, who's kind of like her closest confidant. I'm no historian here, so I'm sure somebody will pick me up on this over time, but basically she plays her closest confidant. And then into this scenario comes Emma Stone playing a cousin of Lady Marlborough, and basically the favourite, the title refers to kind of this kind of triangle of power grabbing which goes on between them. I mean, basically it uses the character interactions to frame the politics of the time. So there is quite a lot of political manoeuvring going on, but it's all very much done and refracted through the lens of how those characters are interacting with one another.
So Annie, how did you find it?
Well, exactly that. So I found it very funny. It had some quirky humour that I liked, and because I'm not a fan of period pieces, I liked the fact that it was more contemporary. It could be set in any time and space, basically. There's just this loose background of Queen Anne's court, and it's more just about these three characters. And the characters are complex, they're unpredictable. That's something you rarely see from female characters. More nowadays, of course, and it's always good that you do, but in the past, less so. But yeah, I really liked it.
So how do you guys think it'll do at the Oscars then? Have you got any?
I think on the acting front it'll do very well. There's a lot for the three main actors, so Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, and Olivia Colman. There's a lot for them to grab onto. I mean, basically it is a very character-driven film, which has its downside, which maybe I'll get into in a moment. But I think it'll do very well on the acting front. The director, Yorgos Lanthimos, I think he could do quite well also, but I think the main focus will be on that acting trio. I think they are very accomplished, and I think it will hoover up quite a lot of awards for them, certainly.
Yeah, I think I agree. There's really good contenders for The Favourite on the Best Picture, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that Olivia is, well, I hope she's going to get an Oscar because she does an amazing job.
I'm very much rooting for Olivia Colman. I think she did probably one of the best. I'm a big Olivia Colman fan, but I think she also did an exceptional job with this. And I think that's what makes, I think the acting and the women and the story is what makes this a so much more positive Yorgos Lanthimos film than I've ever seen. I mean, his other ones are quite dark in certain aspects, I mean, not that I didn't enjoy The Lobster, but I think there's something quite funny, and I'm also a big fan of period, unlike Annie, maybe a big fan of period films and historical films, but I think this one is a new take on it, and it's definitely a modern take on it, which is quite impressive to see. Unlike films, I think, in the past who've tried to be more modern. I'd love to throw my dislike of Marie Antoinette in there, but I think this film has got a way to keep you entertained and also make you understand that really the women are the main part of the story,
Olivia Colman is superb, and actually what you said there about it being a slightly different take on it, I really do think it's her performance that underpins that. Because when the film opens, she is fully in comedy mode, really. I mean, honestly, you could the mannerism she's displaying and the tone that she's taking, it's like if she was plucked out of Peep Show. I don't know how much Peep Show any of you have watched, but it did feel like the Sophie character there to begin with. But the range that she then goes on to display throughout the film is really quite remarkable. So this idea of balancing those interactions of the characters, the tone, and the fact that it's comedy as well laced in there, I think that she's really the pillar that all rests on. I mean, the other two are superb in their own right, but basically everything revolves around Olivia Colman's character. And if she didn't pull it off as well as she had, then I don't think the rest of the film would fall into line, to be honest.
Absolutely. But I also wonder if you guys think, what do you think of that ending with the bunnies? To me, it's funny because at the end of it, it made me feel like a little bit of a David Lynch film, and that's maybe why I thought the sense of humor added to this new oeuvre of Yorgos Lanthimos, that there's kind of this weird sense, funny oddity to the way that he's filming this.
Are you going to need a spoiler here at some point? Spoiler alert.
Well, I think that I can address it without spoiling ancient history. But I think it actually plays into my only main issue with the film. This is where I'm going to digress slightly from liking it. There isn't much feeling of momentum there. Now, for most of the time that the film is on, it gets away with it because the interactions between the characters is so engaging and it's so well written. But there's not really much sense of anything actually happening. And I think maybe this actually plays a little bit into that conclusion, because how do you conclude a film like that? These characters in real life, I mean, they would go on to live, they still existed at the end of the film, and there's a lot of history that follows the actual period this film is depicting. And it's got these intertitles, these kind of like chapter divisions, which quote some of the dialogue. And I actually think part of the reason it's there is because there wouldn't really be much sense of progression if it wasn't. And as I say, the film gets away with it. I like the film, but I think maybe the ending plays slightly into that. If you don't have that sense of progression to the same level, then how do you conclude it? And I think that's maybe why it ends up that way.
Yeah, it's fine. I like the intertitles, but I didn't like the way they looked. I thought they really annoyed me because they were like all spread out in different shapes and stuff, and I'm picky about that.
It was almost like somebody had gone a little bit mad with the justify button.
Exactly. It was very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this before, but I don't like the massive use of the wide-angle lens, like the 8mm sort of look. It was just too, like I was watching a GoPro video or something like that. I don't know. There was just something not. It was too fake to me, or so, I don't know why he's so obsessed with that. But it wasn't my favorite element to that either. I don't
either. I mean, the super wide angle lenses. The main thing is I don't really see what it was adding to it. I don't necessarily have an issue with the use of that. I just don't really see why it was used there. Maybe I'm missing something, but because visually otherwise, I think it's very good. It forgoes the problem that a lot of period dramas have, where it's a very staid and still camera. Let's frame everybody appropriately. It is a lot more dynamic than a lot of similar films, so it's actually quite good in that respect. But the wide angle lenses did confuse me. That was a bit irritating.
It didn't bother me at all for some reason. I didn't even really notice it that much. And there's a few theories online about it. The other one says it's like CCTV footage almost. So the whole idea is you're looking into this, and I think Mark Kermode said it's like hermetically sealed world, like a little snow globe that you look into. And they're very much like, everything is just revolves around them. So there's this very closed world. And maybe that's something that they try to convey with the use of that, or then just a kind of new and contemporary look into period dramas, because it's a totally new look of that kind of film.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that.